Hi, my name is Liana Hovakimian, and I'm the Director of Investment Attraction USA West at Toronto Global. And here with me today is Fiona Lake Waslander, who is a co-founder and CEO of Coral, a virtual healthcare platform that provides evidence-based personalized support to women during perimenopause and menopause and beyond. Fiona, thank you for coming. I'm very excited that we're doing this. You are such a trailblazer in this industry, in the tech industry, and really empowering women in tech and entrepreneurs. And I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into your journey and provide the opportunity for our audience to get to know you a little bit better. So let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your career history.
So I started in tech over 20 years ago now. It was after a number of years of consulting. I moved down to the Bay Area and started at Yahoo, back when Yahoo was like the cool place to work at. And it was an amazing opportunity because it was growing like crazy. That was so 2004 to 2008. The Bay Area was alive. And so it meant really great opportunities career-wise because the company was growing so fast. We made a personal decision at that time to move back to Canada. And from there, I actually worked in a number of different tech companies, mainly focused on sort of direct-to-consumer businesses that were a mix of hybrid of online and offline experiences. And since then, I've started actually 3 companies.
Wow, this is great. And let's start, actually, that ties into my next question, which is Skylight, which was the reason why you and I met.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember reading an article in the Globe, and that was about you, a co-founder of Skylight that came to Canada. But let's start from the very beginning. You were in San Francisco when your husband was on a sabbatical leave. You were pregnant with your 3rd child, I recall from that article.
that's good.
And you started a new company. So
Yeah.
what on earth were you thinking about when you started a new company while being pregnant? And what were the challenges that you had to navigate, starting a new company in another country, although in the San Francisco Bay Area? But yeah, tell us about that.
Well, we decided to move to the Bay Area because that's where my co-founder was living at the time. He's also Canadian. But he and I decided we wanted to start a new venture together. We identified a big opportunity in the residential renovation space. And so at that time, that was 2016, we actually couldn't imagine working in different countries together. And so we actually moved the whole family down. That's why my husband took a sabbatical at Stanford. And so it all sort of aligned. The baby kind of came a little bit as a surprise. It was a much wanted 3rd child, but we thought the moment had passed. And so we sort of found ourselves planning a move, having a baby, and just thought, well, you can't have any more chaos in your life. So let's just do it all together. And so it was interesting, though, being in the Bay Area, it was wonderful to be there, very close to investors. And it was really good to be able to have those conversations. But my co-founder and I actually decided to work remote first. And so we found, even though we were both living there, we actually generally worked remotely over Zoom at the time. Zoom was new at that time. And so realized that actually it was a very efficient way to work and that we could actually work in different geographical configurations because of the efficiency of working remotely.
Wow, you're a hero in my eyes, at least. Getting back to Skylight, you moved back to Canada, and that I think we met a couple of years into the Skylight operation. I read about you moving back. I reached out to you, and we met in the Starbucks, if you recall, in the Kingsway area. Tell me about, I mean, I understand you're Canadian and you had your own network and your professional career here, but that came with its own set of challenges, expanding a US company into Canada. So how did you navigate, how did you manage that cross-border expansion, and especially the market expansion and scaling up a team here?
Yeah, so I mean, there's so many things to think about, and I think I relied on advice that I got from all over. Toronto Global was certainly one big piece of advice. I tap into anyone I can ask as to how to do this, whether it's you need to set up new banking arrangements, new HR arrangements, new everything. And so really relying on the Toronto tech community, Toronto Global, other tech entrepreneurs willing to help out because I think there's a strong desire here to build tech in Toronto, and so many people were willing to sort it out. I think one of the challenges was not being known. Things like our venture capitalists, which had a lot of connections in the Bay Area, weren't connected here. So it was coming sort of fairly with an unknown business, and building up a team. But really being able to rely on my network, my network to be able to do that here.
Yeah, absolutely. The help is out there. One just has to ask.
Absolutely.
And that kind of ties into my next question about Opendoor. That's the next
Yeah.
career aspect for you. We at Toronto Global had already started working with Opendoor around that time when Skylight was acquired. Opendoor had an interest in expanding, and they were evaluating a few North American cities for their next hub. And I recall one of the very important things for Opendoor was diversity. In Toronto, as we all know, is a very diverse city with over half of our population being born outside of Canada. So we had to supply all that information to Opendoor and facilitate connections to various organizations, diversity organizations that they could tap into. And then they told us that the leadership told us that they were actually quietly thinking about acquiring a company here in Toronto. And lo and behold, that company was Skylight. That was a very successful exit for you. I reached back out again when we met in another coffee shop.
Yeah.
But yeah, tell us how that merger came about, and what was your role in navigating that transition to go smoothly?
Yeah, so I think there was a couple of things. Opendoor was looking to get a foothold into Toronto or into Canada in general. A lot of their leadership team was Canadian, so they valued the Canadian talent and understood the opportunity of building here. So I think a couple of things, they were looking for that. They were also looking for a strong team who could help build their own business and build on new features. So it was sort of a really good timing for that sort of merger of skills to happen. And so they used Skylight as their foothold into Canada, because it's hard to start from scratch. And so they're able to take our team and sort of build that base and then build the team out from there. I think my role, I mean, I played a number of roles in that transition. I was there kind of on the ground Canadian who understood HR rules and how to set up a company. And so I was their de facto, HR support for a little while, helping to transition employees. But for us, it was a similar setup to how we've been working in Skylight. So with the US based market customers, but with a Canadian operations team. And so they build the Canadian team sort of around our skill set at that time.
Yeah. Let's now talk about something that I feel very passionate about, and I'm sure you do too. As a woman founder and leader, having worked in historically male-dominated industries like real estate, construction, home renovation, and technology, what were some of the biggest challenges that you had to overcome, and how have you navigated through those? And most importantly, what would be your advice to women who are looking to enter career in those industries?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've dealt with my whole career, right? From starting a business and going into tech. I think imposter syndrome is something that every woman can talk about. And so would have to continuously remind myself, like, no, I do belong at this table. Like, I look around and, like, no, I'm just as qualified and I have something to add. But it can be challenging with a room full of men. I think for me, one of the things that's helped me is looking for strong mentors, strong leaders. So whenever I look for a new opportunity, really all comes down to the people I'm going to be working with and the leader I'm going to work for. I've been fortunate to work for some very strong women and also some very strong men who are very supportive. And anytime I get into a situation where I don't feel like my senior leader is supporting me like I would like to be supported and giving me opportunities and credit, then I change it and I move on. And so thinking about women and the advice I would give, it's first is, know that you have a seat at the table and know that you deserve to be there, and surround yourself with people that are supporting you and supporting you on your career journey. And know that even outside of your directs, whether it's your direct employer or direct set of colleagues, there's tons of support out there for you. I really enjoy mentoring women. I've done it sort of throughout my career, and know that there's people out there who are rooting for you and wanting to support you. So don't feel like you're stuck within, your colleague community, that reaching out to the broader tech community, there are resources for you.
Wow, I love how you say that. And I will certainly remember this and carry it forward as well. So now from prop tech, construction, real estate to health tech, you have your new company now, Coral. Thank you, by the way, for reaching out to me and inviting to the launch of it. That's
Glad you could make it.
amazing. And Coral is a virtual healthcare platform that provides support to women during perimenopause, which, from what I learned at the event, could start as early as mid 30s or early 30s,
Yeah.
and menopause, which doesn't really have an end date.
Right.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your new company and what motivated you to focus in this area, and what existing gaps have you identified in the healthcare system here?
For me, I mean, after the Opendoor acquisition, I started looking for my next I worked there for a few years and then was looking for my next opportunity and looking how I could contribute. At the same time, I'm hitting my, say, mid to late 40s and suddenly realizing that there's this health issue that no one previously had told me about. And suddenly everyone is talking about it. And I think we are of a generation, this Generation X, that's willing to talk about health issues that before were taboo. Like we were willing to talk about mental health, we were willing to talk about fertility. And so what's happened is we've all reached this age and we look around and go, how come no one told us that this was coming? How come no one in the past talked about it? And then why are there no solutions? Well, there's no solutions because the women haven't spoken about it. And so I started sort of talking to everyone and anyone I could in the space, and realized what a gap there was in the healthcare system. Women, as you mentioned, can suffer from menopause for decades, and the variety of symptoms that can actually impact women's health is huge. It's this women's health issue that's universal, yet there's so little out there.
No one talks about
And so no one talks about it. And the medical community really suffered a setback about 20 years ago with a study that was later debunked that sort of mistakenly tied the use of hormone replacement therapy to an increase in risk in breast cancer. It turned out to be a flawed study, but it really set women's health back 20 years because doctors, didn't want to go anywhere near prescribing hormone replacement therapy. And so it's really been a gap in care. And so for me, it also kind of pulled me full circle on the experience I had with women in business and women in tech and what was happening. Why weren't we solving this? My whole career, I've tried to promote women and help women along and be a leader. And then realizing that there's this health issue that hits us in our 50s that no one told us about and actually prevents us from operating at our best. We should be at our prime in our career. We should, our kids hopefully turned out okay and we've worked hard for 30 years. And then we hit our 50s and suddenly many of us, in fact, 95% of women are impacted by symptoms related to menopause, don't feel our best.
Yep.
So how can we compete? How can we finally got our place at that boardroom table and suddenly we can't compete because we're exhausted because we were up all night with hot flashes. So we might have insomnia, we might have anxiety. All these symptoms might have manifested into depression. We might have menstrual flooding. We might just feel uncomfortable. And so it sort of dawned on me that I went, this is like one of the big cruxes of the issue with equality in the workplace is we have this women that for 10 years of their life aren't operating at their maximum potential. And so I realized, like, I was like, how is this not being solved and how can I contribute? So that's sort of where it started. Realizing I don't have a background in healthcare, I was super happy to meet up with my co-founder Anna Schiff, who is a co-founder and COO of Dialogue. So she had built virtual healthcare platforms and understood the healthcare side. And I'm bringing to the table, like I've built a number of businesses. I've worked in the direct to consumer side. I'm right in the target segment. And so we're so happy with that partnership because we sort of bring both halves of the equation to be able to build this business. And we were super lucky to be joined by our CTO, who's also from Dialogue, who's built and scaled health platforms, digital health platforms. So I feel so lucky to be with that pair of people to really build this business.
Well, this is great. And I'm so happy that you're doing this because this is something that women want to hear more about. And, I really like the educational aspect of Coral you're doing as well. But let's dive a little bit more into this and tell me how you approach creating a solution that actually takes into account the physical along with emotional and social challenges that women face.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. There's a lot of women. There's a lot of issues that women are going through at the same time. Some have very acute symptoms that they're like, I need a medication to help me with this. Others are dealing with more lifestyle issues, whether it's like how to manage their weight or how to feel better in their community. And so we actually have a platform that's very flexible. And so it matches women with treatment paths that apply to their goals. And so they can come in whether it's they want to work on their sleep, they want to work on their fitness, or they really just want to fix their symptoms and manage their hormone balances. It actually can address that as well. The health issues that women face during this midlife as they age are generally all related to metabolic changes, hormone balances, and there's a huge set of issues that can actually be solved with medication, with supplements, but also with lifestyle changes. So with sleep, with fitness, and with community. And all of that we bring together with a support layer. So to make sure this is the first time often women are being listened to with their health issues and make sure that we have a very caring support layer that, stays with them along their journey. So we have very, well-trained coaches, health coaches, that can really support and provide that motivation along the way.
Well, this is great. I found the panel so insightful at the launch event. Sleep discipline is something that I need to work on myself.
Yes, I do as well.
Let's talk about the team building. You have managed diverse teams in your previous career, and your current team is mostly women, understandably. And your team is, I understand, remote across Toronto and Montreal. What kind of qualities do you look for while building a team, and especially in today's reality where companies work remote? And I know that you
Yeah.
did that with
I
Skylight.
did it with Sky. Yeah, so we've chosen a distributed hub model, which is a little bit different than pure remote, which means that we hire in hubs so that people in those hubs can easily get together. And that when you travel to another hub, you can see a large amount of the team. So we've chosen to hub in Toronto and Montreal. It's the same setup that we did with Skylight. We hubbed in San Francisco and Toronto. Because while I love remote and I do find I work most efficiently remote, it is great from a culture perspective to be able to get together in person. So we look for people who fit into that model, who are very self-motivated, are very passionate about what we're building, whether it's they're passionate about the industry or they're passionate about their opportunities to grow in their career. And so we look for people that are passionate and they'll be driven on their own, but also enjoy the interaction as well. So we can have those structured get-togethers to really foster and build the culture. I've always built diverse teams. I feel like it's the best way to build a business is to have different kinds of opinions. And even in women's health, I mean, it's important to have the men's voice at the table because husbands, partners, employers, colleagues, they're all dealing with
Sons.
sons. Yes, my son's here all about this, I can tell you. But they're all dealing with the impacts of menopause as well. And it's amazing how many, back to this generation of women that have started talking about menopause, men are now comfortable talking about menopause as well. I've listened to so many who've said, I read all the books, I'm figuring out the problem. And so it's important to have that voice at the table as well. So whether it's women's health or whether it's, construction, it's important to have a lot of different voices and experiences at the table. So that's what I always look for as I build my teams.
That's great. I spoke actually with my 17-year-old yesterday, telling him about this conversation
Yeah.
today, and at first I felt that he felt a little bit weird about the word menopause when I used it, and then gradually he kind of opened up and was curious to hear about it himself.
I keep quizzing my friends at the whether or teaching anything about menstrual health or menopause in health class, and I get sort of blank stares. I do think that's coming though. In the UK, for example, it's actually part of the public school education now, and so I think it's just about time as to making sure that both men and women understand sort of the full spectrum of health issues that women do go through.
Absolutely. Looking ahead 5 to 10 years, where do you see Coral, and how do you hope your company will help in reshaping the overall landscape of women's health, especially around perimenopause and menopause?
So we hope that women feel educated about menopause, feel like they're in control of their health, And so a large part of our solution will be about education tools, and building out a content base so women feel supported, empowered, educated, so they can really make their own decisions about their health. Our goal would be to expand that beyond just the perimenopause, menopause years, right into sort of later stage health issues that come up, whether it's cardiovascular issues and osteoporosis. And there are unique health issues that happen towards women that haven't been well researched. Also, moving earlier into a woman's health experience, hormonal issues, as you mentioned, happen often as early as early 30s, and helping women manage through that. Even if it's not menopause related, there might be other issues that come up. But I hope in general that we are shining a light on women's health, shining a light on the need to have more specialist doctors in the space, more training, and more dollars put into health research around conditions that are unique to women.
Yeah, that's very, very important.
Yeah.
And I'm confident that you will uh, have your voice heard by all the relevant communities. So, looking back, Fiona, what is that one piece of advice that you wish you could have given yourself at the start of your career?
I would say that it's be willing to take risks. It never occurred to me in my 20s to start my own business. Entrepreneurship was not something that I'd heard much about or been exposed to, and sort of sought the comfort of larger companies. And then found myself in these large companies wanting to make more of an impact and wanting to build more and have sort of more control. And it took me until my 40s to actually realize that no, I could start a business. And that's, I was willing to take on that risk. And I wish I'd started that earlier, because it took me a while to really find my passion in the space. And so what I tell women, I tell men, but women in particular that are thinking about their career in terms of, well, I need time to have kids, and I wanted, I need time to do this and time to do that. I would say you can never predict the future. Just do what you want to do. Life will always be busy.
Start a company when you're pregnant.
Start a company when you're pregnant. You can never predict these things. And so just do it, and make things happen. And then take on the sort of life's challenges. It could be elderly parents. It could be pet care. It could be partner care. Anything could come up. And so don't try to choreograph it all, but take those risks when they present themselves as opportunities. Just jump in and give things a try.
Wow, take risks. That's something to remember.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for paving the way for other women in tech and entrepreneurship. Thank you for creating the solutions that are drastically impacting and improving women's health and lives. I want to wish you continued success and fulfillment in personal life and your professional life and with Coral, and continue empowering and inspiring others.
Great.
Thank you.
It was an absolute pleasure to get a chance to talk about it. I really appreciated Toronto Global support over the years. So it's great to be here to be able to chat a bit about how that helped me along the way.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Fiona.